welcome to the Byzantian Brews podcast, the only podcast that has a dancing ghost pug in the one corner, probably. It's your one-stop shop for homebrew content, random discourse about Wizards of the Coast, and other topical content related to tabletop things. This is your host, Kerry Jacksaki, with my co-host.
I'm going to do
Lovely. He's halfway through eating a cookie. It's fine. Welcome all to the podcast. Woo!
Hello.
What? It's just eating a muffin in the background.
I have been sleeping a lot today after the night before. But yeah.
So what have we been up to this week?
Oh god, it was quite a week till yesterday. Helped another charity store opening.
Nice.
And then in the afternoon, I went down to a Digbeth Country Festival, which was
a
crazy time.
I saw the photos and I was like,
as I didn't know, because I thought it would just be like you go into a pub and it's country themed, and no, it's like a proper one-day festival. But they've actually hired like professional country singers and a couple of ladies from one of the UK's biggest line dancing I guess school in just for the occasion. It was just a in and out one day festival till like 3:45. So I was there from about 3:30 till it was done.
Yeah, amazing.
And I did a lot of line dancing. Wasn't very good at it, but never gave it a good go. And had more than a few drinks because the beer was true to country fashion. The beer was flowing that day. It was everything you'd expect from a country festival. Every second person was wearing like a proper hat for the occasion.
Oh, like a Stetson.
Yes.
Amazing.
So many. There was so many people in Daisy Dukes and like tasseled tops and giant belt buckles and all. Like everyone really like made an effort. It was really really cool. I want to go back next year because I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The other thing I woke up with some interesting foot sores though from all the dancing, and I because I wore some like nice shoes that aren't boots but look like boots if you don't know. They're just kind of stiff. So I've got myself some interesting foot sores for a little while, but after that should be fine.
Yeah, these things happen. I remember sometimes I get foot sores when I go to conventions because you're on your feet most of the day walking around.
Oh yeah.
Particularly if it's like some MCM where getting seating, finding a space to sit is sometimes extremely difficult because everywhere is just packed to the rafters.
It can take like 20 minutes to get across the whole hall because of all the human traffic.
Yeah, I think it happened to me when I went to MCM London years ago. Because obviously with that, you don't just have the walk to and from, to and around the convention. You have to walk through the city of London, get on a tube, likely get on a connecting tube, and then walk more to get to the convention hall. It's like, ugh. I mean, here in Birmingham, we're lucky because we have a bus line directly to the NEC. Usually, and like there's like it's not that much of a walk to get to the correct hall at the NEC either. And yeah, but yeah, I understand you feel the foot sores, but I'm glad you had fun.
I did. I'm now debating actually learning how to line dance. It was that fun. I mean, I liked country before, but now I want to get more into it. I guess inspired me. So yeah, didn't think I'd be going. Then I got tickets literally on the day, and I was very surprised at just how much of a big show it actually turned out to be. Although I would recommend if you're gonna go, but when the at least this year at the start of the thing, the queues for the bar, the main bar before they opened up the other ones was enormous.
Ah,
So if it's like that, don't go to the bar unless you're gonna buy like a
around.
2 pint a round or a 2 pint or a 4 pint jug
Yeah.
of. Because at least then, when I was queuing, you were set up for a while.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So no complaints. It's a really fun time. Um, just country music for 5 or 6 hours, and I limped home at the end of it. So I haven't done much today on purpose, my feet are really kind of a little bit cut up from my work shoes that posed as boots yesterday.
Yeah. Uh. So awesome sauce. This week I have been doing some graphic design work for my local church. I did some lanyard designs this week. I
Oh yeah,
did, yeah, it was just something really basic, like a church watermark in the background, names and roles on it. Those are getting printed up tomorrow. I've been doing some homebrew stuff. I've been doing a lot of homebrew stuff this week. So we've got not only have we got our
that's
homebrews of
good.
the week, of which there are five because they're all connected. We've also got, for those watching the or in the Discord, I've submitted a whole bunch of new pieces for the Phyrexian Mirren Compendium. So that's now significantly bigger, and I'm
Very
going to be
good.
doing more work. I'm going to work on that a bit each week until hopefully it might even be the size of an actual like D&D style book. Is
Yeah,
the
it will
is
add
the
up. Just
goal?
do a
Yeah.
bit a day.
I might submit it to like Wizard Coast, but like, oi, this is how you make a book, you idiots. Really like tongue in cheek about it. Who knows? Anyway,
Well,
talking of
you
books,
can't be less faithful than the.
yeah,
What
yeah, be
was it?
more faithful than what they're doing lately. Sheesh.
Even then, what was the other Magic the Gathering inspired set? Theros. There you go. It was a Theros book.
Yeah, definitely better than the Strixhaven one because the Theros one was actually all right. It was just it's the Ravnica one was the absolute worst.
Yeah, what's quite funny about the whole Theros book is months after I bought, I think I did actually brought it up on the podcast that it was it's a home like third party one called it's called Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. I think it's called. It's
Hmm.
a another ancient Greek style setting, and I bought it and bought the £10 quick version, and it's way better at being ancient Greece than Theros ever was.
Yeah,
It's just like
yeah. I suppose the thing with Theros is that it was trying to only be inspired by ancient Greece rather than completely ripping it
yeah,
off.
I
Because
can
they
see that.
did that years ago. Basically, the whole thing with Theros is they did that years ago with, I think it was Arabian Nights, and they did it again with Kamigawa, and they kind of realized actually we should only take loose inspiration from other mythos rather than directly ripping it, because they found that things like the Bushido mechanic and stuff like that, while they were cool in their individual settings, they didn't feel particularly magic, and so they had difficulty reprinting certain mechanics onto new cards that weren't Kamigawa
Right.
themed. Of course,
Yeah,
nowadays that kind of just is kind of just pissing in the wind because we've got Universes Beyond and everything now, so nothing feels like magic. What
yeah.
even is
I
magic
get that
anymore?
from like a Magic the Gathering point of view, from a D&D point of view. I think
Yeah,
you need that sort of what's the word I'm thinking of? It needs that sort of denseness to it, so it feels like a
a lived-in
setting
world.
with its own
Yeah,
set of rules.
yeah. Anyway, talking of books, on to our tabletop book club.
Yes, I have picked up a book I bought a long time ago and swore I'd get through because it's up my alley, but just didn't. It's The One Ring. It's a tabletop game based solely on the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Nice.
I know there's quite a few of them, but this is like one of the I think one of the early ones. Or at least in a modern update of it. It's quite
Hmm.
good. It does have a few core ideas. I mean, I'm sure you can do it without them, but it's a game that pretty much demands that you play someone with at least neutral, outlook on life.
Yeah.
Like it is very like true to the books. You're playing someone that actually wants to do good in the world. So that might be a deal breaker for some people. I get it, but it's Lord of the Rings. I think it fits.
Hmm.
It does have like a really good, well developed system, like social system of tracking. Basically, like sort of like a corruption meter of sorts called the shadow points, which is quite cool. With
Ooh.
1 to 4 shadow points you can gain depending on what you see, what you do. So it's like there's a sort of like the sanity mechanic from Call of Cthulhu games.
Yes.
I think it's really cool. So one shadow point would be a serious mortal accident, a death in the family, natural catastrophe. Meanwhile, the other end of the scale would be like looking into Palantir, which is not familiar with like the crystal balls that Saruman uses,
Hmm.
or seeing like seeing a massive orc army or something. So something there's a rid or like 3 points is being haunted or tortured. So they got like a real like decent metric for this kind of stuff. And you can get them from either being frightened or committing what they call a misdeed. So it's something. So that can include threats and malicious lies, random cruelty, or murder of innocents. So it's really discouraging people from being murder hobos, or you literally
Interesting.
end up sort of like Gollum, which is quite interesting. I quite like that, to be fair.
Hmm.
Well, I think a lot of DMs would like that because it means that a lot of it would curb a lot of bad behavior. I think.
Yeah. Telling me.
Oh, you got 10 shadow or now no longer playable. Sorry, you are too evil. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You have passed the point of no return.
it's quite good because they have random like stat blocks for common stuff as well, which I think is always a sign of a good book for tabletop.
Hmm.
Where you don't have to immediately buy another book to understand it, which I quite like that.
Yeet.
The stats are a little peculiar though. Like they have a stat for hate, which is interesting.
That is strange.
Yeah, that depends. It depends as well because like hate is reserved for like obviously evil things like orcs, goblins, and the classic evil Lord of the Rings stuff
Hmm.
gets a hate thing. Meanwhile, everyone else it just get more neutral,
Makes sense.
which is I quite like it. It also had a whole section just on curses, which I think is really cool. Um, it's got a typical one, the curse of weakness. So it's quite open ended. So could you make you uh, cowardly, fearful, or murderous? That's just a curse you can pick up.
Uh-huh.
So it's got. I'd say it's written from the Tolkien's quite Christian perspective, in like the acts of evil are pretty black and white. But if you want like the older style RPG experience, I think there's a lot you'd get out of this because
Hmm.
it makes you track things like there's no like not counting rations and stuff you use on the on the road.
Yeah.
So much like the movies, you have to keep track every little thing, and I do quite like that because otherwise, why do you have these items in the book if we're not counting every last arrow and bolt and ration, or how much water you've got in your left? It's very good for that.
Hmm.
I do intend to eventually get a game running in it. Just need to find people that like Lord of the Rings enough, which is probably where I think it might not have great appeal.
Hmm, maybe.
Yeah, but I think it's a solid book. It's got the nice hardback, which is a really nice material to it. Comes with its own little mini uh bookmark, the little satin ones that you can just sort of loop in wherever you need it.
Yeah,
So that's yeah. It's definitely had a good treatment done to it.
nice.
What have you picked up this week?
So I've got a small PDF here called The Lost Crypt by Bill Sylvie. It's a fifth edition
Hmm.
compatible thing by Necromancer Games, I guess. Yeah. And this is a brief little adventure for, I think it was level 5. I think it's a level 5th level adventure. It was available for a while for free on I think it was on the Hero Forge website during Christmas. You know, they did the advent calendar one year,
Oh
full
yeah,
of a bunch of like
oh yeah, I
character
remember.
files and D&D things. So
Yep.
yeah, so this is someone who
So
actually had contact
what's
with
the
Gary
general plot?
Gygax, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So the Lost Crypt. So the background. Two suns hang in the sky over the greasy scribs of van that rolls up before you. One sun is swollen and violent, the other is small and golden. The heat is oppressive, making you gasp. I know how that feels at the moment. Fortunately, Sucker seems near at hand. A cool shadow and is cutting near a hill. So, uh, da, da, da. What does it say? What's the okay? But what's the? It's the. I want like a synopsis, I guess, but it hasn't really got like a full synopsis.
Okay.
Here we go. So, a realm not terribly unlike our own exists in a strange and mostly hospitable nearby plane. While plane I travel might overlook this small pocket reality, an entrance exists into it at the darkest depths of the most storied dungeon complex in the known realms. Cool. To enter into it is a step into a world at once familiar yet more bizarre than our own. Here in is room into light artifacts, great power, and treasure beyond imagination. Having explored the utmost depths and found the entrance, group of adventurers could thus transverse this place in search of fame and fortune. Lost Crypt can be used as standalone 5e adventure or be incorporated into a large dungeon complex or campaign. This adventure is suited for a group of tier 2 characters and should include a good mix of rogues, fighters, and arcane spellcasters. Clerics could prove useful to cope with a number of undead. So lots of undead, a big old stone guardian. There's some servants' tombs, a trapped hallway, a prayer chamber, a big old shrine. Each room actually is like it has its own section, which is very nice. Prayer chamber, shrine,
Oh,
priest
love that.
mausoleum, funerary preparation chamber with a cool image of a zombie on it. Mold farm, interesting. Uh, giant ant lair, charnel chamber, gloomy chamber, crypt of the whites, false treasure room. I do like a good false treasure room. Chamber of specters, an unsafe floor, chamber of falling blocks, storage room, burial alcove, trash room. Interesting. Alchemist's chamber, rat's nest, stairwell. Ooh, bugbear's lair. Nice. Upper guard room, barracks, common room, armory, chieftain's lair, evil temple, treasure vault, the dungeon, the abandoned cave, western watch post, wild horses, and some. Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot of rooms in this. It's really descriptive. There, haven't seen a map for this. So, oh no, here's the map. Oh, lovely. It actually has a dedicated map to look at. I'll have to. I don't know if I can zoom out of it, but it's got a cool map, which is nice. We do like a good map with proper squared off. It's a little bit. The squares aren't exactly perfect on this map, but they are serviceable. And yes, this was done in 2020 by Necromancer Games, and there are some new creatures. So we have a bugbear shaman, bugbear acolyte, and giant tick, and brown mold and yellow mold. They're not necessarily creatures, these. I guess they're more like traps in this case, which is pretty nice. So that's cool. It's yeah, there's not a huge amount of new stuff in this. for the third party thing, but it's like there's enough that it's interesting. But yeah, I think this might be a cool adventure to run through at some point, particularly as
It sounds
it's
very old school.
yeah, it's very old school because I think this is very Gygaxian themed because this is why the
Yes.
introduction starts with talking about Gary Gygax, but it's also it's generic enough that it could fit basically anywhere, which actually I think serves to its benefit here rather than its detriment. Because like you could
Yeah,
put this in,
it can be generic and good.
yeah,
You found a way.
because you can shove it into any Underdark related thing, or you could probably throw it into Harakir if you retheme some stuff, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what was it called again? That's the Lost Crypt by Necromancer Games. A cool little
Very good.
piece, yeah. And the cover's kind of cool too. It's got like some ghosts in a library-looking room, looking all angy,
Hmm.
knocking over chairs as you do. So,
I think it goes just like I'm gonna
huh?
say, um, you're describing the room layout. It's giving me a little bit of Eye of Argon vibes. Like you've got the gloomy chamber, and I was hoping there'd be a Stygian chamber right next to it, which is somehow different from the gloomy chamber.
A melancholy chamber,
It's got plush furniture.
a rambunctious room.
Oh yeah, the rambunctious room. That's funny as hell.
So talking about rambunctious things, what is our critical fumble of the week? I'm getting better at this
They
segue
got
thing.
fumble. Have have we actually been at this a year now, or over a year?
I
It's been a
think
while. It's
so.
been a
Yeah,
while now.
it's been a while.
Yeah. Um. Yes. I think what it's been is there was trying to find the football team. There was a women's football team and the football club, by extension, that is really putting its foot forward with the paying their male and female teams equally.
Uh-huh.
This has had an interesting side effect. That because I'm not sure the exact reason, but generally more people switch on for men's football than women's football. They're now begging for money, um, because they're paying so much more for their women's team, but they're not necessarily getting the viewers and money back. Sorry, there we go.
Oh. Hmm. That's the double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like yeah, it's like okay, yes, we shouldn't be discriminating based on gender for our football teams, but if the women's football just isn't bringing in the same amount of fans as the men's football team, why should we be paying them more?
Very much the that's very much the point. I think in like a good, it's got to be at least 8 times out of 10, maybe. The reason the women's teams are getting paid less is just because they don't sell as much tickets,
Yeah,
not as many people going to
it's
the
like
matches. It's
yeah.
not, you know,
It's like I get it. I
it's
get the equality angle. It's like okay, in some industries like an office, yes, the pay should be equal. But in things where it's
Mhm.
like sports and entertainment, where if it's just not pop, it's like you can't help it if a women's football thing isn't as popular as a men's football thing. You just can't help that. And that's not a sexism thing to pay them
Yeah.
less. It's like, hey, you're not being paid less because of you are putting the same amount of work, but it kind of doesn't matter because the fans aren't watching. That's the problem. It's not because you're a woman. It's because no one's not enough people are watching.
That yes.
And
So they're not begging for a
yeah,
small amount either. It's coming in at apparently £120,000 they've been asking for.
yeah,
God knows who they're asking for this.
yeah.
So it's not a small amount either.
And it's like if you look at things on the opposite end of the foot, there are definitely some industries where women will probably earn significantly more than men. Particularly, I would
But
say
I'd
Twitch,
say
probably.
HR.
Twitch, kind of thing, where it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, again, that could be because of sexism and like simps, etc. But it's like there are some things where women are just can be more successful, and there's definitely like a deeper thing to unpack there, but it's a lot more
Yeah.
complicated than just pay people equally. There's a lot more complicated than that. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't run before you can walk with these things.
Yeah. So that was thought got something sports themed this week, something a little bit different. And something that's a result of an unexpected trying to do good and realizing, oh dear, rather than Wizards of the Coast or Square Enix or something, because they routinely get things wrong. And we jump on them all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give them a break this week. What is it? Have
I
you not
mean,
done that this week, or what was this week?
you can give them a break, but I.
I was gonna ask. Uh,
So it's not. So it's not that they're in a critical fumble this week. It's that they are potentially poised for yet another of the same fumble. So they've just announced something that actually is kind of cool: a Sonic the Hedgehog themed set of secret lairs for Magic, which I actually think
amazing.
pretty cool, to be fair. And this time, they haven't made the mistake of splitting the mechanically unique cards across 5 different products like they did with the Marvel one. So they learned something.
Right?
They actually learned something.
That's good.
But there are a few things that I'm concerned about. One, again, you remember before I was talking about this whole spaceship thing?
Yeah. So it's not a vehicle; it's a spaceship,
Yeah.
but it's not a vehicle. Don't get
So
twisted.
Dr.
Um,
Eggman, he can put into play constructs, robots, and vehicles, but not spaceships. Despite the fact that in canon he has several large space stations and other
It's
spaceships.
almost as if like the really broad category of vehicle exists for a reason.
Yeah. And I'm like, is
Yeah.
this an intentional decision, or was this a case of that the Sonic Secret Lair was designed way ahead of Edge of Eternities, and no one briefed whoever's on the design team for this about spaceships being wanting to be a thing?
Have you ever watched the UK Apprentice?
Can't say that I have. Why?
Because I'm just wondering how they actually get these projects finished.
Hmm.
And this is definitely just a theory. But what if you were joking about that? But what if that's actually how that works? The teams working on this stuff don't necessarily share the same room.
Yeah.
So I might wouldn't be surprised if they'll just get a call from uh, somewhere higher up or someone higher up, and they'll just be like, "Oh, can you make it to fit this brief?" Because that's what
Yeah.
our market testing says. But then they might get a call up the next day. Actually, done it again. This group hates it. Change it back. So you probably end up with a lot of half measures because of that.
Hmm.
I'd be amazed if the executive types show up to anything the creative team does, unless it's like passing on what the sort of marketing has picked up on.
Yeah. It's like. So I do empathize a little bit. The other thing was, um, secret layers currently they are still limited time only drops rather than print to demand, and so I'm like, are these secret layers going to sell out immediately to scalpers and not anybody else? And am I even going to be able to get hold of any crumb of this whatsoever? Probably not, because Wizard
Yeah.
still refuses to go back to print demand. Uh, as for the cards themselves, they are really thematically good for what they are trying to be. Like Sonic, of course, Sonic obviously has haste, which is cool. He's in red, white, and blue colors, so you can run him, Knuckles, and Tails in the same deck. Amy
Okay.
is red, white, and cares about equipment because of a big hammer. This makes sense. Dr. Eggman wants to amass a board of robots, constructs, and vehicles, aka artifact-related stuff.
Yep.
This makes sense. He
That's
also
it.
does a whole villainous choice thing, which is kind of cool. So we actually have another card that actually cares about villainous choice. The thing from the Doctor Who set that we didn't really see
Yeah.
anything else of. It's like, thanks. Finally, we have another new villainous choice card. Finally. Jeez. Thanks for remembering that mechanic exists. Also, it's
Okay,
kind of
so
funny that you can run Sephiroth in the same deck as him. Very funny.
that's the crossover 12 people wanted to see. The fanfic just now makes sense.
Well,
Um,
so I joke because there is an album done by a big group of I guess gaming musicians years ago called Big Bad Bosses, and so there's like Eggman, Sephiroth, Bowser, and Ganon were like part of this boy band. Basically, that was the joke. So it's like, hey, if they eventually do those other two, you could build the boy band deck.
yeah, so is this like they're just spinning the rumor mill, or do they have like a confirmed date for any of this?
Let me take a look at when it's supposed to drop. Um,
Because I would bet money that the Sonic Adventure truck is gonna be a card.
So we've seen the whole lot, unfortunately, apart from the secret cards,
Yeah,
because
fair enough.
each secret letter always comes with a secret card, which could be a few different things. So we won't know until people start receiving them what those secret cards are. But the cards are Super State, which is an enchantment, which is basically like the supersonicification of things. There's Knuckles, Amy, Eggman, and Tails. Shadow and Sonic. So those are all the new cards. We've got Knuckles' gloves, which is the River Cleaver, Air Shoes, which is boots, Egg Ham, which is Mia Battle Sphere, Pika Pika Ham, which is the Hammer of Nazan, Power Sneak, which is Lightning
Yep.
Greaves, the Tornado. We've got Generous Gift, Open the Armory, Fabricate, Deadly Dispute, and Unexpected Windfall, Soul Ring, and a Treasure Token. So we won't know until people start receiving them what the secret cards are. But there's a lot of the choices in here that are very good, and some of them are just like, for example, Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves. It feels like every other secret lair or set has one of those in them. It's like, can we
Okay.
please have the funny shoes from this universe be a card that isn't those for once?
I'm just thinking if they're gonna do all this extra card stuff, they could charge a lot of money just from selling packs of those. Just packs that are guaranteed to have one of them in.
That's what the secret lairs are. So
Oh,
you are
thank God.
guaranteed to
They're
get
gonna
those
say
7
that.
cards. Yeah, you are guaranteed to get the cards in the secret lair drop. Guaranteed. The
Oh,
only
perfect.
thing with the
Yeah,
extra
sure. That's
cards is that there's like a bonus card in each of the secret lairs that we don't. Then they are not guaranteed, but they are usually something themed to the set. But there's like it's like 1, 2, or 3 different ones that it could be. So you could wind up with a basic card, or you could wind up with something that's like an
right.
absolute super staple that's really expensive. That I also don't
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
But I do find it cool there is a quote-unquote secret card in each lot. I just wish it was the same card and it was, not always something stupidly ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. I just thinking like, I mean, the meme potential
Yeah.
in this Sonic deck has got to be huge, right? Like,
And
I would imagine just Escape the City deck like card would pretty neat.
yeah. So this releases on
Or
July the 14th.
okay, not far off.
Oh, and the Secret
So
Lair X.
so
Oh, okay. The Secret Lair X Sonic and Friends drop will be available at WPN stores on August 21st in non-foil. Holy shit, they actually learned something! Wow, they're like, you know what we'll
hey,
do? We'll actually send some copies of the fucking unique card one to local game stores so that people can actually buy them without sitting in a queue wait for scalpers to get there first.
imagine that.
Imagine that! Fuck my life. Of course, I bet you the allocation for the fucking drop at the WPN store is going to be shit, though. But still, it's a step in the right direction. Man. Jeez. Anyway, that's my critical fumble, which is less of a critical fumble and more of a critical success. You know, it happens 1
Yeah.
in 20 times.
Yeah, I've just had a thought, another thought regarding this particular pack as well. Like they've never had an easier time color coding what the characters are going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's no way that you're not going to find Knuckles in a red deck.
Yep, Knuckles is red. This makes sense. Shadow is black red, which also makes sense.
Yeah, this is an easy sell.
Yeah, Tails is
And
white
there's still
blue,
enough
which makes
Sonic
sense.
fans.
Dr. Eggman is
But
black, blue, red, which is basically the colors that near enough every bad guy is in Magic, so that also makes total sense.
that's weird. Why does it? Why is
So
maybe it's the minions thing?
no, it's basically that's the bad guy colors in Magic, basically. Um, so Nicol Bolas
But
is in those
you're telling me
colors.
that pro blue players aren't villains in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Yeah, so Nicol
It's-
Bolas is in those colors. The Daleks are in those colors. I think the
Uh,
Valedictorian from Doctor Who is also in those colors. I believe there was a Fallout villain that was in those colors as well, if I recall correct. So yeah, usually what we call Grixis is usually like the enemy colors, all of the main like because I think it started with Nicol Bolas, so that color trio was always been associated with the villain.
okay.
And I guess blue sort of makes sense because blue is usually a color associated with artifacts as well. Anywho, yeah, so it really works. Like Knuckles cares about treasure, which makes sense, and his ability wins you the
Yeah.
game if you have 30 or more artifacts, which I believe is a reference to Sonic Adventure 2, where the Master Emerald
Yeah.
was split into 30 pieces. So, in theory, by collecting all of the pieces of the Master Emerald, you win the game. This makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, Tails cares about vehicles. Um, Shadow the Hedgehog is broken. So whenever he or another creature with flash you control or dies or haste dies, draw a card. But his second ability is busted. Okay, each spell you cast has split second if mana from an artifact was spent to cast it. So what split second does is, if something has split second, you can't respond to it. You can't counter it. You can't play anything in response to it at all. It has to resolve before the stack can be added to again.
How many players
Broken.
can you play a turn?
So, depending on how much mana you have, you can play any number of spells, basically. So, in theory, what you do with Shadow is you play a bunch of artifacts and then just start casting
Yeah.
some really horrible spells, knowing they can't be countered, except by other things as split second.
Which only surely Sonic's got one of those, right? You'd think.
Um, there is a blue counter spell I think that has split second. I think
One, there's only the one.
there's only the one.
Oh god, fun.
So
They
I
better
guess
expand that
so
mechanic, or that's going to be
I
broken.
guess the out to Shadow is just destroy their artifact so they can't give things split second.
Yeah.
Sonic obviously cares about Sonic gives things to with flash or haste +1/+1 counters. And whenever a creature you control with flash or haste is dealt damage, create a trapped treasure token, which I believe is referencing Sonic losing rings when he takes damage, which is quite cute. So you get rings
Wouldn't
when
it
they
be?
take
Wouldn't it be?
damage. Yeah.
I'd say that you'd use all of them though, like the older games.
Yeah, I think it's quite cool that you create that he creates a tapped treasure, aka he loses rings, and so the player gets rings and he loses his rings when a creature with flash or haste is dealt damage. That's funny. Oh, but yeah, it looks a lot of fun. I'm either gonna try and get the secret layers, or I'm just gonna proxy them if they just
Right.
become unavailable fucking immediately. But yeah, rare Wizard of the Coast win, but they're still making. I they're trying to make up. They're trying to get around their own problems, but I feel like they're doing it in the wrong way. But time will tell, I guess. Time will tell.
Okay.
So on to homebrew of the week. Yeah, this is the homebrew of the week.
Weird jingle for that. Yes. It's with the wheels landed on Lovecraft this time round.
Yes.
So I had quite a lot of fun with this one. It's been quite simple, but it felt thematic. Just did the one. Um, so the theme for this one I went with was sad and pathetic.
Oh.
Because but my cue was you know how this God knows how many stories Lovecraft wrote just end with someone going mad.
Yeah.
I made a creature that is effectively that's just the end result of that.
Ah.
Because that's the most Lovecraft thing in the world to me is someone in a story going, ah, I found a spooky thing, and now I talk about the rats in the walls forever or something. Um, so they can be any species because this is more like some sort of plague victim rather than a spook monster. I call
Hmm.
them pale walkers because they I don't know what because they found a strange artifact called the Pale Light. So it's sort of like a weird unearthly lantern from like Spur, which is a realm of Ravenloft, which is all Lovecraftian and spooky like that.
Hmm.
Um, just to make the just to really read on the horror. Just thought, what would happen if you drove someone mad to the point where they just didn't care for bathing or eating or drinking, but didn't die of it. They just sort of kept walking around, wandering, talking utter nonsense about something only they can see.
Yes. Yeah. I had to think
Yeah,
for a
but then
second.
it made it worse because so that all they're half starved, sort of shamble around like zombies, though they're still impossibly alive. Um, but not immune to being frightened though. Um, they're actually prone to like jumping at things they think are there or might be there, but aren't.
Hmm.
They just sort of live in this constant state of weird fear and confusion, and don't literally process light right anymore because they've had their eyes just burnt out.
Ah.
They can sort of see that their eyes are like the pupils are constantly glowing with this weird milky yellow light. You just can't. And the worst part is transferable. So they have like a gaze kind of effect, which is quite
Hmm.
nice, which is kind of nasty. Um, the only thing they can see in full focus is each other. Everyone else looks like sort of like inverted dark vision. Everything is shades of white and grey.
Oh.
So they can see outline, they just can't see form. Um, but because they all have their own individual things that they think are real, they often drift apart just randomly.
Hmm.
So they're just like terrified, confused people. But if you try and help them, you have to run the risk of looking into their eyes, and then the key thing is they have we'll call it the pale gaze. So they have to better use a DC 15 charisma save or become paralyzed. And if it's an NPC, like from a plot point of view, they would effectively become like them. They'd go blind, apart from get the weird white light vision. But they do learn the pale light cantrip, which is just a
Oh.
thing they can do. Sort of like a localized version of their gaze they can just use.
Nice.
They're kind of like pathetically easy to beat, though. but the whole thing was tragedy. So they are supposed to be easy to beat, but have a horrible effect if you play it wrong. And it was like
Ah, hmm.
I thought the whole thing was tragedy. It's like, yeah, they're not particularly threatening by themselves, but that's the horror doesn't come from them being particularly fatal. They're just kind of sad to look at, and they have that whole classic Lovecraft vibe of I have seen something from beyond the veil, and it's driven me completely mad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, otherwise they have a slam attack, which is a
Makes
thing,
sense.
but otherwise they're more like plague victims. That are just very uniquely mad, and what gives me a reason to actually look into Bluetspur, which is sort of like it's a domain in Ravenloft, which is full of mind flayers, just full of mind flayers. So that seemed like a nice, obvious place to set it. What have you got this week?
So I've accidentally made an entire ecosystem.
One does.
So it starts off with like the bottom of the chain with something called a grinning dog.
Oh,
So I wouldn't go R. Think less cute dog smiling and more that one smiling dog from creepypastas in the early
oh, another
2000s,
one,
which is it's loosely
another one.
inspired
But
by that. So basically
I
these
just had
guys,
just
yeah.
thought it was like a smiley dog. Carry on
Yeah.
there.
So
Okay.
these guys aren't
Hmm.
particularly dangerous in combat. They only have a very basic bite attack and they're only challenge 1/8. However, they do have what one would call a cognito-hazard effect. AKA, when you
Right.
look at them, there's an imprint.
Funny that.
So, when a sentient creature perceives Grinning Dog's face, they must make a DC 16 intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the memory of the Grinning Dog starts to corrupt. Each time they think of the dog, the mental image distorts a bit more. They will also always see the dog in their dreams at night. When this has happened for the fourth time, the memory will have shifted to an uncanny canine creature with red flesh and an evil wide grin. Sorry, wide evil grin. From the fifth recollection onwards, the afflicted creature gains a madness point, and I've now actually defined how the madness point system works, because I found out there are in fact official rules for madness effects. So
Okay.
there's short-term madness effects, long-term madness effects, and indefinite madness effects in the core rules. So I've created a madness point system. So at 3 madness points, they sustain a short-term madness effect, at 8 points long-term, and an indefinite madness effect for every 10 points.
Right.
So basically, how this works is so the grinning dog is kind of like a carrot eater, except they prefer going to near cities and places where sentient creatures dwell, particularly as low security, like orc camps, for example. They intentionally draw near enough that they will be seen, but not near enough they'll be hunted and attacked. They wait for the inhabitants of those places to go mad and then kill themselves indirectly or indirectly from their madness, and then eat them it, until they are engorged.
Oh,
They will gorge themselves. Once they hit adulthood, they will then engorge themselves as much as they can. But they will
right.
patiently wait out until like enough people have gone mad and died from their madness, and then eat them. Which leads on to the second creature, called a Plocomazaz,
Right.
which is a portmanteau of the Greek Plocamia Viomazaz, which means tentacled biomass. I was going to call it tentacled biomass at first, but thought, actually, no, that doesn't sound insane enough. Let's go to Greek.
Okay, so that's very Lovecraft to mix a load of languages together.
Yep. So this is a
Yep.
CL4 creature, so this is much more dangerous. And basically, these are a aberration ooze. So what they do is they go around just eating anything, but they will predominantly be found in places where there are grinning dogs, because the grinning dogs They engorge themselves, and then they get eaten by these things. That's their whole existence. And they
Oh,
are so
okay.
both the grinning dogs and the plocamazas were actually artificially created, or genetically made to serve as an ecosystem for something else we'll get to in a minute. So these guys have blind sight, which makes sense, but they are just like big oozy balls full of tentacles, very Lovecraftian looking weird things. Um, so when a creature inside of it dies,
Right,
they start to digest it. And so once inflicting a failed death save automatically on the start of each of its turns, once a creature is dead, this heals equal to the max HP of the creature at 8. Any excess HP it heals is added to its max hit points. And when its
right,
max hit points are double its starting hit points, it gets bigger, adding one size, so it's currently large, so it will become massive or whatever, and then gargantuan, etc. So it will gain a size and some
right.
stats, and then it does the same when it becomes 3 times its starting hit points, 4 times, and so on until it physically cannot grow any bigger. When it's
Right.
gargantuan, it may use its action to split into 3d8 medium-sized plocamazes. Randomly roll the HP as normal. Actually, I should change to medium. So yeah, it should start off as medium, not large, and then it just grows bigger. It can use its tentacle attack. It has engulf like a lot of oozes do. I think this
Right.
is literally the engulf attack from the gelatinous cube. And yeah, so they eat a lot of things and grow bigger, and then they are hunted by the next thing. So the
Right.
thing that also made them. So what? And I had to actually look this up of what kind of humanoids there are in Lovecraftianism. So these are Nyarlathothopians, aka sort of akin to Nyarlathotep, that
Yep.
one guy from Lovecraft. So these guys are CR9
I
because
know
these are actually intelligent things. They are humanoid aberrations. They are immune to madness. Makes sense. And they're resistant to being charmed and
right.
frightened. They have advantage in stealth checks at night while obscured in shadow. When a creature is hit by an attack of one of these or fails to save a spell cast by one, they get a madness point, and so on and so forth. So, again, much like the grinning dogs, they drive people mad, but they are doing so more intentionally rather than just for food source. There's a few different types. So, there's a knight, which gets plate armor, broadsword, or
Right.
greatsword, and a shield. One of these items will always be a plus on magic item. An agent, which gets basically a better version of treated leather armor called reinforced treated leather armor, which is AC 13. A dagger, a short bow, a dagger and a short bow, hand, crossbow, or small firearm. A potion of healing and a bottle of poison. One of these applicable items will be +1. Citizens get common or fine clothes, dagger or short sword, and they can use cantrips from the spell casting list. And the mage, which gets +1 fine clothes, +1 arcane focus, and can use the full spell casting list. All Nyarlathothopians can cast Friends and Thaumaturgy at will, because they're eldritch beings. And there's a button here, and I've got the spell list. I won't tell you what the spells are, but they are basically very eldritch themed spells up to 4th level. The ones that make sense. And yeah, these are like basically kind of akin to mind flayers. They are a civilization of aberrations, but instead of like being brain eaters, they just drive people mad just kind of by being in proximity to them. They tend to keep to themselves, but they're not cannibals, but they do sort of rely on sentient races for their food source through the grinning dog and Plexomazus ecosystem. So they deploy their grinning dogs in an area, and then a Plexomazus or two wait for the civilization to basically die, and then
Right.
harvest all the Plexomazuses for their like weird eldritchy delicacy diets. I'm guessing they probably make a lot of Plocameza stew or like souffle. Plocameza souffle
Okay.
sounds disgusting, but yeah. And of course, most of them serve the god Azathoth, so another Lovecraftian link.
I'm familiar. Whatever.
Yeah, and then the last bit is just a spell, because I wanted to do a
Okay.
spell alongside it for the Nyarlathothopians, because I wanted to give them a spell that actually does madness stuff as well. So this is Tormenting Voice, first level enchantment, can only be used by Warlocks of the Great Old One Patron if being used by a player. Because I figure that's the only real instance where this spell would make sense to be able to be used.
Yep.
So, you afflict a creature you could see with hallucinatory voices of hecklers from their past. Target must make a wisdom save, and a failed save, they take 1d4 psychic damage and gain the same number of madness points. So it's another, again, it's like me building on the madness point system. Because again, I love D&D so much, but it's like, okay, here's this optional rules for madness. Proceeds to add nothing to actually invoke madness via raw. So I'm like,
That's a pretty good point.
here's a way that things can go mad.
To be fair, how something goes mad is probably the most important part of it, to be
Yeah,
honest. It's where they don't really
yeah.
reach that.
But that's not the only thing the spell can do. So alternatively, you may aim the spell at yourself to try and discern some inspiration among the voices. When doing so this way, you may remove one spell from your prepared spell list to add any 2 spells from your spell list that you can cast to your list of prepared spells. This effect lasts 24 hours, but you take 1d4 psychic damage and gain that many madness points. So there's a bit of a risk. There's a bit of a risk to it.
Okay.
And I also did Price of Sanity because I wanted to do another spell for this system. First level conjuration, usable by wizard and warlock. You exchange sanity for coin at a poor exchange rate. So you can either create 1d4 gold pieces but gain a madness point, or touch a winning creature, use 10 gold to remove 1 madness point from them. I should
All
say
right.
maybe I should change it to 10 gold per point or something. So basically, that's one way of curing madness, but it's costly. Or you can willingly turn yourself
Yeah,
mad for money.
that fits.
And yeah, that's what I did this week. So it's like I say, a new ecosystem and a few more spells because I'm starting to make spells now. Now I'm getting to grips with how they work. But yeah,
I've did a thing a few years back messing with the like, madness systems, perhaps with it. The Junjito inspired thing.
uh huh.
It was it was based amalgamation of like Junji Ito ideas. Um, mainly it was a Maki. So basically, all the madness effects are spiral based.
Mm-hmm.
So if you looked at a certain thing, you would run the risk of getting a compulsion to, I don't know, just start rotating your wrist in a circle for like a, a few minutes. It basically, be disadvantage,
Hmm.
or you'd be compelled to walk in a circle. And no matter what you try and pull until you break the condition, that's what you're gonna do if you want to move anywhere.
Oh. So
It's
yeah.
it's a very specific form of madness. So it's quite fun.
So this is from the Free Basic Rules 2014. So everything's on a D100 list. So short-term madness, a few of these are like becomes frightened, must use his or her action movement each round to flee from a source of fear. Begins babbling, is incapable of normal speech or spell casting. Experiences an overwhelming urge to eat something strange, such as dirt, slime, or offal. Medium can be something like long term. Be something like this lasts for 1d10 plus times 10 hours, whereas short term lasts 10 minutes. So long term is like you can get blinded or deafened for a time. Experiences powerful delusion. Choose a potion. The character imagines that he or she is under its effects. That's quite funny. Partial amnesia. Character knows who he or she is and retains racial traits and class features, but doesn't recognize other people or remember anything that's happened before the madness took effect. And then you have like indefinite madness, which gives you a new flaw. So things like I must bend the truth, exaggerate, or outright lie to be interesting to other people. Or there's only one person I can trust, and only I can see this special friend. That kind of thing. which is quite cool.
Okay.
Calm emotions can suppress the effects for a time. Lesser restoration can rid a character of short-term or long-term madness, depending on the source of their madness. Remove curse or dispel evil might also work. Greater restoration is required to rid a character of indefinite madness. So don't become
Right.
indefinitely mad.
You know, it could be a really fun way to get rid of permanent madness,
Go on.
potentially. Could be like some radical lobotomy type procedure.
Oh yeah, trepanning slash
No,
lobotomy.
but here's how it works. There's also a chance it could just kill them.
Amazing.
So
Oh, sorry, I
so
cut out the
really don't
frontal
get that
lobe.
wrong.
It's like, okay, you're not mad anymore, but you now have really bad short-term memory and amnesia. Shit.
That's often like a really common way Lovecraft would end his stories, end up in an insane asylum with like lobotomies.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that's what I've been working on this week. So what's next? Ooh. Yes, so do we have a sounds like gaming thing this week that we want to talk about? We haven't done a musical based thing lately. I feel we haven't done
Have
that in a
we?
while.
Yes, we do. Um, let me find it. I was watching it earlier. Um, you know what? Yeah, this one is not good. But it is very funny if you like internet like meme quality music.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm quite a fan of if they stream fairly regularly. It's a couple people who run something called Drawfee. If you know Drawfee,
Yes.
just yes. So I found one of their old streams where they played a game called Chips Challenge, and I'd never played this. It was like some flash game from
Hmm.
the 2000s or late 90s, I think.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and the soundtrack is let's have a look actually. How long is this? It is really funny short. Because it's two whole songs. So you will get this stuck in your head. Um, yeah, oh Jesus Christ. Yes. So it's both tracks are in total are 252.
Uh-huh.
They just loop back on themselves.
Ooh.
Um, so it's kind of like those compilations of just listening to annoying music.
Hmm.
There's two songs for the whole game, and the game's already kind of repetitive.
Yeah.
But it is kind of amazing that I have to put it in there. Like the one track, I would describe it as uh, clown music. Yeah, clown music. Um, music that doesn't know when to stop, so it just loops forever, which is just fantastic. And the other song I'd say is so it's got a really competent bass line, but this absolutely awful just like fake trumpet for the actual melody part of it.
Right.
It's a shame because it's got this really like fast, uh, tense sort of bass line, but the actual melody is dreadful.
Hmm.
Like it would like it's describe it as anxiety music.
Yeah, kind of like the countdown sort of
Like
thing. It's like,
one song gives you anxiety, the other one drives you mad. So I think it's really also just a really funny stream. The other thing that also play Frog Fractions. I never played Frog Fractions, but having seen it, it is barely about fractions, to be honest with you. Um, so I would recommend looking it up. Now I've dropped the amazing Chips Challenge soundtrack
amazing.
that to drive you mad with. The thing. It's the kind of thing that would be an amazing forfeit or like some sort of Twitch stream,
Uh-huh.
which challenge you like say if you could I imagine you could make quite a bit of money, but if you said right, I am gonna do this if I get so many followers over this time period, I will do a 4 hour stream just listening to the Chips Challenge soundtrack because it
Oh.
is that irritating.
Oh dear. Just watch me go
It's
mad
right.
in
So yeah,
real time.
real time. Yeah, I think I've seen someone do that once. This is a music reviewer, and he had this challenge where he must have made so much money doing this.
Oh.
He basically got his Twitch chat to basically every time he got like money for donations, he had to reset Dance Monkey until it got to the end. It did not get to the end until like it must have been. I think it went almost an hour or over an hour of just
Mm.
resetting Dance Monkey because he did it like 43 different times.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing to watch. But that can't be good for your health. But he made so much money doing that.
Mm.
And also, I now hate the song Dance Monkey.
Yeah, I can imagine. Uh,
See, that's Tip's
so
challenge. Have you got any the cuff
yes.
things
So
for
recently I've
soundtracks?
been
Oh,
playing
fantastic!
Oblivion Remastered. I actually been able to play it on the cloud.
Hey,
And that reminded me that Young Scrolls exists. And their little
oh,
EP called Glathia Nutty, if you've ever heard of it. So they basically
not
sentence
familiar.
mixed a bunch of like lines from Glathir and stuff like that years ago to make like an LP. I don't know if they used AI or whatnot for the this. No, I don't know if they did because it was like years ago. This was like pre.
Get
This was
reward.
like pre AI. This was two. I know this was 2 years ago, but it's like this was I think just before AI became really big. And
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like and then one of the lines in the first song is an Imperial Guard going, "Stop right there, son! You're acting cringe."
oh, I've heard this one.
You must have done. Yes, it's
Yeah,
amazing. It's mad, but it's very funny, and it is kind of a bop. Weirdly enough.
it's it's got that spirit of early YouTube where you just
Yeah, and it's like it feels like
make musical compilations of
yeah,
things.
it feels like it gave Glathir more character than he ever had in Oblivion. Because in Oblivion, was just like this is just a slightly crazy guy who wants you to watch people. In the LP, it's like okay, people are hunting him. Now he becomes like some rich boy, fucking rapper. Yeah, and then and Shea Gorth appears a bit as well. It's just yeah, it's just good. It's 15 minutes long. So it's like one, two, three, four. There's like 5 different tracks, and it's great. It's really funny. It's silly but funny.
That's
Oh.
very that's like,
And as
well,
hello Agus, welcome to the
speaking
stream.
like
Yeah, so if you want to go mad, listen to the Chips Challenge OST and Glathian Nutty
yeah,
whilst you're going mad trying to fight these eldritch
yay.
creatures this week. You could
So,
be
or maybe let's make that form
immersed.
of
You could be immersed. You could gain real life madness points at the same time as in-game ones.
what's more Lovecraftian than that?
So, thank you guys for tuning in this week, and that's going to be it for this week's
Look,
podcast. Oh, time to spin the wheel. We've added some new stuff to the wheel.
spin the wheel. There's yes, let's bring up the wheel.
Bring
Speak.
on the
No, I had a
wheel.
thought. Did you figure what the hell that sheep was about in that one hotel in Oblivion?
Oh no, I didn't. No, yeah, it's like the type of septic hotel has a random sheep in it. I didn't. No,
Sit
why is
there.
that sheep there? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna look this up. The Tiber
Look,
Septim
look
Hotel
at the sheep.
sheep. Why is he here? Yeah, why are there sheep in the Tiber Sept? Oh no!
It's just the
Oh no!
wandering.
It gets
Oh no.
worse. It gets worse. Hang on a
Oh
minute.
man.
So, I found this screenshot.
Right?
This is some old Oblivion. This guy has had a Tiber Septim
Good.
Hotel with more than one sheep in it. I'll put it in pics and vids. Oh
What is that?
no! So apparently, this is the safe zone for models that are supposed to appear in a location that is no longer available for whatever reason. A broken pointer, mod, bad reference, general bug, etc. So now they show up here. So it's a bug. The
Okay.
sheep is there because of a bug. Yeah, the type of sector tells the default
That's so good.
respawn point for things that glitch out of existence. So it could easily be a sheep, or it could just be like a random bandit might show up at there at some point. That's amazing. So it turns out it is a bug. There's not actually supposed to be sheep in there.
Oh, like a weird quest line where some dude was turned into a sheep and is just hanging around the hotel. But no, that's it.
I
Does that
love that that's a bug. That is amazing.
does does that mean of like a flame astronaut could randomly show up at an inn?
Only the Tiber Septim Hotel. Only that place is
Okay.
that's the default spawn
That
point
is very
basically for the
funny.
game. That's the game's default spawn point. So if something if there's a bug which makes something disappear and it tries to put it back somewhere and doesn't know where it's supposed to go, it'll go to the Tiber Septim Hotel. Amazing. So,
Oh, but that's so yes. You're gonna like this one. So, give the wheel a spin, and I've picked some of your suggestions, including bizarre book sentence. Uh, and you never guess which one we landed on.
go on.
Bizarre book sentence.
Hey,
Uh,
lovely.
which I'm going to the Eye of Argon. I'm going to spoil it. I'm just going to the Eye of Argon again.
See, I was
What
thinking that
bizarre sentences?
when I do that one, I was thinking, do you know, I don't know which book it's from, but do you know the line, you may fascinate a woman by giving her a piece of cheese?
No, where's that from?
I'm going to look this up. You,
And does that work?
maybe, may.
If they have
Of
the note.
course, it's like the first result. Um, It was an image from a book of spells claiming that you may fast. Oh, it's a spell! It's a spell! What?
I'm a wizard.
Wait, what?
That's a spell, is it? No, it
What?
sure has changed.
The complete book of magic and witchcraft from by Catherine Paulson, 1971. There's even a term for it, which
Okay.
means tyromancy, which means cheese divination. I am making an entire school of magic called tyromancy. That's going to be next week. We're going to make a whole new school of magic to specifically about cheese divination. Done. Cheese for everyone!
So if I was to offer someone a piece of cheese, that makes me some sort of wizard.
I guess.
That was easy. That'll be much harder.
So there you go, folks. If you want to become a wizard or look completely mad, hey,
Oh,
look, there's that Lovecraftian thing back again. Give your local woman a piece of cheese. Specifically a woman. I don't know why. Specifically a woman. Doesn't work on
yeah,
blokes.
yeah, very specific. Yeah, to work on men. Who can up these rules?
Although I guess I would be fascinated if a man in like a blue wizard hat and like robe of stars came up to me and offered me a piece of Edam. That would be pretty fascinating to me too. Come to think of it.
Well, I'm going to potentially go to MCM Comic Con in I think it's November.
Uh huh.
So I'll have to. That might be a cosplay idea. Just hand people conspicuous amounts of cheese. I test this for you.
Oh man. Okay, and on that nutshell,
I, I,
or on
I've
that
learned a
cheese
lot today.
shell, yeah.
And I'm not necessarily useful things, but I've learned a lot.
Madness is rarely useful. There's a fine line between genius and madness, and we're definitely not in the genius pile section right
We've
now.
gone over this time.
So, thank you guys for
Right, I
tuning
think that's
in,
it. Sorry about
and
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
thanks
shall
for
see you
listening, though.
guys next week, unless we've gone mad, in which case, we'll be live from the local mental health clinic, I guess. Anyway,
Yes, I'll be in a padded cell, just pictures of a computer chips all over my wall.
and I'll be like singing Glarthir songs and telling people that Shea Gorath is coming and we should be wary about the Grey March. So,
So,
we're going to raid out to
yes,
Arcadum,
see you all next week.
and we shall see you on the battlefield. So, bye-bye, everybody, from Byzantian Dev and myself,
Bye.
and we will see you next week. Remember, you can find the Byzantian Brewscast podcast anywhere you can find your local podcast. Maybe. Find us on Twitch and on YouTube at the moment. Coming soon to other platforms.